I think the big challenge for us, and we're picking it up in the legal area, is that it was reasonably easy for the last 20 years to recognize one powerful union in your workplace, whether it be NUM or one of the COSATU unions. But now you have the breakup, and you have 2-3 unions asking for recognition in the workplace, both asking for organizational rights, asking for collective bargaining rights, and how you manage that is a challenge. I actually think that if we follow the patterns and the law of other countries, we can manage it. But it's certainly something that's coming across my desk regularly, how do you deal with a multiplicity of unions in the workplace?
I would agree with that, and I think the inevitable corollary that goes with it is that it's going to be management that has to lead and has to give a sense of direction to the management of that fragmentation. If you were to say to me, how would you describe the union movement in South Africa right now, I would say balkanized. They're a pain in the Balkans, and they always have been. But in reality, I think what I would be saying is that we are going to be no different to any other country. And of course, the unions would say this is incorrect. But in point of fact, I think I said in 1999 that when historians look back, this will be seen as the high watermark of unionism in South Africa. And it is absolutely inevitable because it is inherently tied up with economic growth and the transformation that takes place through the application of technical progress. What happens is the capital labor ratio changes, the rate of return changes, skills are upgraded, people can earn more. Generally speaking, if you have a look at it, workplaces become smaller and smaller, not as easy to organize. People who go into workplaces don't have a history of their family being unionized, and so on and so forth, whatever the reasons. Now, if you look at the numbers, union density in Britain is less than half of what it was when I worked there. In America, it's even less than that. Australia, which was probably quite close to the sorts of level of militancy that we saw in England in the motor industry in the 70s, and in South Africa in the early days, has gone from 50% union penetration to 14.4%. That, in fact, is helped, and this is an interesting point, and the studies show this, by changes in legislation. All the research shows that where labour legislation is friendly, quote unquote, to unions, promotes unions, makes it easier for them, then they do well. When that turns, as it did under Reagan in America, under Thatcher in Britain, under whoever the PM was at the time, Herbert Kangaroo in Australia, this tends to happen as well. So all of these things are happening at the same time. And in South Africa, our union density has dropped from about 45.2% in 1994. The last figure we have from the department, who work obviously on a historical basis, is 2012, at about 25.2. I would think that that is a lot lower than that. But I must make one major distinction. This is not to say that unions will wither in the branch and die. They will not. They will always remain in the smokestack industries. So heavy engineering, mining, metal, etc., they will be there. But as the economy transforms, those sectors become less important. The other one, and this is perhaps the most important thing for us here, and looking towards what's going to happen to us in South Africa this year, is that the real last bastion of collectivized power tends to be in the civil services, in the public sector. And in that, we are no different. So I think that's the picture we've seen elsewhere. I think that's the picture we will see here, overlaid by the fact that we're all South African and we're still casting around to find our way.
Thank you. So what I'm hearing very clearly is that we are echoing what's happening globally and internationally, and that there's a challenge ahead for management, and that they're now going to have to manage more than one union in their workplace.